Warning. What you are about to see and hear is for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed on the show are our opinions and do not reflect the views of BTW21 or its staff. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel and Chad.
Chad is looking for a PBR.
Just be real. We are your hosts, Daniel Lewis, Brother Chad Hudson.
Hello.
Yes. You're joining us here. It's kind of a special show that we got going on here. It's
Extremely
just us.
Special.
I met this fella over a decade ago, and one of the things that we had in common, besides quite a few things, dogs, animals, and family and stuff.
God and country.
God and country. And America was number one, the love for the American flag. And we have sit and we have talked about the American flag. And it's not just the flag, it's what it represents. The blood that has been shed for that flag, under that banner. It seems like every nation, every civilization that's ever existed has had a banner of some sort that they wave. And we've been blessed with this one right here. We're in the greatest country that's ever existed in the civilization of man. In the history of man.
There is no other country that has an immigration problem like we do.
Right.
That must tell you
we
something.
We are all immigrants.
That must tell you something.
Yeah.
If everybody's trying to get here, maybe you should be appreciative of what you have.
Right. Ain't that the truth? It's, I mean, we can get... When you start talking about America, of course, you get into the negative side, a little bit of it. Media, I want to start out by saying, first of all, media is the virus. Media is the virus. Of course, we've been aware
of... The virus to divide.
The virus to divide.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't really know anything, except for we have this little person that's on a TV screen that feeds us stuff in our living room that we pay for. We pay for the programming, we pay for the screen, we pay for everything. They come into our living room and they tell us stuff. And it's not neighbors anymore. You know, back in the day, you had neighbors. You didn't know what was going on, whose horse got stolen, unless you went and hung out with the neighbors.
That's right.
And now we just got media, and then you start adding on these little things right here. We're just shoved into our face all the time. Absolutely. So anything that we kind of say or we believe, and I'm talking about as a whole, not just me and Chad, you got this right here. You can not only find people that agree with what you say on one of these, but you can also find people that disagree. A lot of people that disagree what you believe in on one of these right here. And it's kind of a sad situation. But that's not why we're here. That's why we're not doing it. I mean, that's not why we're doing this show. We're doing this show today for the red, white, and blue, for the veterans, for the ones that gave their lives. I have several veteran friends. I'm not a veteran. And they said, you know, Memorial Day is not about us, not about veterans. It's about the ones that gave everything, gave their lives, so we could sit here and drink a beer.
Absolutely.
So to them. Normally wouldn't do that, but that's one of the freedoms that they fought for, amongst the other thousands of freedoms that we enjoy every day. We take for granted. We got Memorial Day coming up this weekend. This is kind of why we're doing this, even though we would have done this. We do this show every day. Right. Yeah, this whole weekend. It's more Memorial Day weekend. And so we're extremely thankful, from my family to the ones out there that lost their loved ones, that lost their friends, and every war that we've ever had. We're getting ready to go over some of those. We got to visit one of the memorials over the weekend.
We went on a trip, a little
went on a
motorcycle
trip,
ride.
and we do that anyway. This is just not something that we planned out to do. This was kind of spur of the moment, and I said, let's go back to where we've been before. I don't think you've been there before, but we've been to a bunch of different memorials. Want to go to the Bedford National D-Day Memorial. Working with them so we can do a podcast from there.
Now you had to get rights or permission to do that one.
Yeah,
right?
it's private property, so you kind of get they want to know what you're going to do. You're not just going to come there and protest or whatever.
Oh, absolutely not.
So yeah, I totally believe in that one. So we went to the one in Danville. We'll show you some footage here in a minute. Me and my brother got on our bikes. Of course, like I said, just knowing him over the last decade, more than a decade, I knew he was just like, let's ride. So we always go. But other than that, just going to start out, show you here, just kind of go through.
We got some pictures.
Yeah, we got some pictures there. Going to start out with the American Revolutionary War. I believe that was 1775. Yes, just kind of showing you this. Just kind of a remembrance show.
Little Tea Party action.
Little Tea Party action there. This is where it all started. This is the American Revolutionary War. This is, of course, July. Everybody knows July 4th. We have the day off, just like Memorial Day. Some people have the day off Memorial Day, which is coming up. Some people have the day off for July 4th. And this is the reason we're celebrating. This is the reason that we get a grill if you want to, or you hang out with your friends and your family. Just don't forget those ones that died for the freedom that we have.
1775.
April 19th,
So
1775.
200 years after that, I was born.
Yeah. Ain't that crazy?
So it's not that long ago.
No.
I mean, in
history of things.
history of things,
Right.
200 years is, four or five generations there. Mm-hmm. So we're not talking about something that was, monumentally thousands of years ago. We're talking about a couple hundred years.
Right. They kind of calculate a generation as 70 years. So that's like 3 generations.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I know my great-great-grandfather was in the Civil War, which is getting ready to pop up here in just a second. But I don't know if I had any family members in the American Revolutionary War. John Quessenberry came over in 1651. 1651. So we had some kind of a part, I would say, in the American Revolutionary War, but I don't have any evidence of that. But it's kind of cool when you look up your ancestry. Never was into that when I was a teenager. Never was into that when my 20s. It was kind of my late 30s. I started looking up my ancestry. I just wanted to kind of know these people. And it's still hard. You have these censuses. You have these where they registered to be, or draft cards, stuff like that. They registered to be.
But it's amazing what they do have. It's
Right,
amazing
right.
the
Thank
information that
God.
you can find out about this stuff.
And quite a few of them had their pictures on their tombstone, which amazed me. I was like, wow, my third great-grandfather has his picture on his tombstone. I was like, what in the world? So that's pretty interesting. But, you kind of know what county they're from. Virginia, most of them was in Carroll County, Montgomery County, then going to Carroll, eventually came Carroll County. And so that was pretty interesting, going back and trying to find their graves and stuff like that. But, it's a weird situation.
Hey, Mr. Lou, how are you?
We're not talking about El Salvador today.
Well, we can.
But we can.
A year without a homicide in El Salvador, first time in forever.
Right.
Things are looking up.
Yes. Praise
Great.
the Lord.
Amen.
Yes. And that, as far as Americans go, he's got more patriotism than most people that I know.
He's a man. He understands
He
it.
can,
He
he can
respects it.
understand
He
the
understands it.
love of America.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Look at that. Look at that. Yes.
Thank you.
So anyway, I'm not here to talk about my family. We're here to honor the war, the ones that lost their lives. It says everybody gave some gave all. So we're here to honor those that gave all,
Which
which is their lives.
is the key word there.
Yes.
That's just above and beyond anything that I think the normal person can just comprehend.
Ain't that the
They
truth?
just
Right.
Gave their life for it.
So the Civil War, I believe, was we had the Mexican War, and there were some other ones ahead of this one, but I just got the American Civil War. So many wars that America's fought for their freedom in, but some of these major ones is what I put in there. And, of course, The Revolutionary War was first in 1775. That's where we got our flag from. Betsy Ross, the 13 stars, 13 stripes. And now we have the American Civil War, which started April 12th, 1861. Wow. And then run 4 years. And you'll see in a little bit.
And in that 4 years,
golly, the amount of
a million people?
Yeah.
1
Union
million
and Confederate.
1 million people
Lost their lives
in that 4 years.
Yes. A country divided.
I wish I was better at math and I could do the dates and how many passed a day in that 4 year period. I'm sure someone will give us a little answer.
Right.
You should have known that. But a million people, that is just...
Average of 250,000 a year, just on average.
Do you know that
250,000 people right here on our own land? This is not a war we fought in another country. This is right here between the Atlantic and the Pacific. It's man.
That was the biggest surprise to me when we went to that memorial the other day. Is the amount of casualties they had listed in the Civil War compared to the other wars.
Right.
I mean, half the memorial was Civil War.
Civil War.
And then, World War I had a couple pillars, and World War II, they went on. Vietnam had a pillar of its own. But the Civil War, there was like
walls.
4 or 5 walls. It was
people.
Amazing.
All from Pennsylvania County.
Yeah.
And then we look at the little placard. It tells us that 1 million people lost their lives on the Confederacy and the Union side.
1 million?
1 million people in 4 years.
Yeah, that's...
And we think we're living in bad times.
Right.
Oh, Lord, COVID. Oh, no, North Korea.
And it's not just COVID and North Korea, those big things. People just complain every day about how hard their life is.
Right.
And they're living non-thankful.
Never know what sacrifice is.
It's just amazing.
Yes. And I myself really don't know what sacrifice is. Luckily, the 2 gentlemen that joined the war in World War II, that went to World War II, both my granddaddies,
came home.
They came home, or I wouldn't be here,
right.
Which would probably please a lot of people, but I'm thankful they did because here I am.
I have several people in my family that have been in the armed forces. I don't recall someone being lost in it.
No. Yeah, me either.
And I'll probably get in trouble for my mom might hit me up and say, "Don't you remember?" And but,
yeah.
But
I
don't
did have
remember.
my grandpa's brother.
Everybody came
grandma's
home.
brothers. My
Right.
grandma had 2 brothers that were lost in the war.
Oh, yeah.
That went over there, and unfortunately, I can't remember their names now, but I do have them wrote down. But as far as direct family, besides some uncles, then I had uncles that served, uncles that went to Vietnam, uncles that went to Germany. Stuff like that, but they did come home.
You said God. Uncles. That's what it was. It was somebody's father,
right?
Somebody's cousin,
yeah.
Somebody's brother. And it just goes on. It's not just the people that were lost and sacrificed, but the people that were at home,
yes,
and had to deal with that loss at that time.
And I believe that's why we're kind of doing the show today.
Getting that letter,
yeah.
Imagine getting that letter,
or the pull up and they knock on the door,
right?
And it's like, what's the news? What's going to happen?
You already know the news. You see the vehicle pull up.
We never had to live through that.
Right.
And the reason we didn't, because those people gave their lives for that flag right there.
And
they gave their lives for us.
I almost knocked over the mic. You see the people on Facebook, and they're complaining about how hard their life is.
Mm. Yeah.
And I'm just like, really? You have no clue.
You have no clue
whatsoever.
Imagine dodging bullets. Imagine getting hit by bullets.
While eating your eggs.
Imagine riding through the Pacific or the Atlantic in a boat, getting ready to land on shore, and there's just these 50 cal shooting the boat up before you even get out. I mean, who lives? They did that. That was real men.
Absolutely,
real men and real women. We've had men and women. I don't mean to say just men, but back in World War II, real men. That they call it the greatest generation, because that was real men. I mean, if you just really sit, and I have done this several times, just sit there and kind of put yourself in somebody's shoes. You're 18 years old. You don't know jack. You probably didn't graduate. You probably went straight to work out of 8th grade, right. Like most of my grandparents did. You just went into the tobacco factory or picking tobacco, priming tobacco, and then all of a sudden you called the war, and you want to do this because your country, because of your family and you want to protect them. And then you're shipped off, go quickly through basic training, and then you're off in the Pacific somewhere in the middle of thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of water onto another country to where you're getting ready to land. There's planes flying over, there's bombs going off, they're shooting at you, and there you are. And you've made some really good friends, and you see them get killed right in front of you.
And you got to keep marching on.
And you got to keep just going forward, whatever the orders may be.
Right.
You're going forward for the freedom of your country, for the freedom of your family that you left behind months ago to get in this predicament where you are right now. And there's a lot more to it. I wish I could explain it in greater detail.
You ever see some of those pictures of the bunkers on the island, and they have all those?
Somebody built those.
That's incredible.
I see those, and I see guys in them, and I'm like, but somebody had to get there first and make those.
Right.
You're sitting there under fire, and you're trying to protect your fellow troops to... I don't know. It's a wild scenario. So I'm hoping people this weekend will just slow down a little bit. Just give them 5 minutes. Do you have 5 minutes of your time?
I do want to say real quick, I'm at no point in my life where I'm glorifying war, violence, or any of that stuff. But if it's brought to us, you got to stand up for ourselves.
Right.
And I honor these people that have paid the ultimate sacrifice.
I heard a saying years ago, and I totally agree with it, I guess because I was raised a patriot. And as I become older, I realized that raising was correct in patriotism, in the love of my country, God first, then country, family, neighbors. But they said there's only two people that's ever given their lives for American, for us, for the person that we were born an American citizen. We are Americans. And that's two people, Jesus Christ and the American soldier. And I totally agree with that. When I first heard that statement, it's been years back, I was like, man, that is exactly right. Jesus Christ and the American soldier. Jesus saved our souls, the American soldier. We're at home away from home. America is a home away from home. We're going to heaven one of these days. Looking forward to that. If you believe in Jesus, he's got you. But while we're here, we are in the greatest country that's ever existed in human history. And for some reason, media, going back to it again, you always got to get the negative stuff in there. Thanks, Daniel. Close your eyes while you're talking. Media, all this stuff is just a pressure to divide us. And, Jesus actually warned us about division.
Right.
You can't stand divided. That's what Satan does. He divides us. You got to kind of look past the division part of it and remember that we are all one citizen. The only time I've ever felt that, I would say, in my life, well, there's been a couple of times, was right after 9/11, September 11th, 2001. If you're around our age, you'll remember where that's at. Where you were at when you first heard that, and the people that bonded together. The American flags were waving.
Well, the American dream there before 9/11, we had the Desert Storm stuff going on, and people were, is that about oil? Is that about our freedom?
Right.
They were a little on the fence, but then 9/11 came, and you're right. I mean,
we're under
it
attack.
was just right.
We are under attack as a people.
Right. And I wish people realized that we're still under attack. Just because it's not big and flashy like 9/11, but we are still under attack. We are still being divided.
Yes. The media is...
So where did we get to? We got to the Civil War.
We got to the Civil War. Next is World War I. Excuse me.
Now, what I don't know, was that called that at the time, or was that called that... Was that named that afterwards?
I don't. In 1914, I don't think they called it World War I.
They just called it war.
It was
We're
war.
at war.
We're at war.
Right.
Then the next thing you know, it's just everybody, and most of everybody, most of the world powers are at war.
But then we have another 4 years.
Yeah, just 4 years. Just 4 years,
Yeah.
and that kind of really doesn't end in 1918. It kind of keeps carrying on with Germany getting power, and of course we know the idiot becomes involved.
It probably began before that and ended after that.
Right.
But that's the declaration of war.
Right. And so we get into the biggest war that we've ever had, not as far as lives go, but World War II. would be I would say probably the biggest war that we've ever had. That's 6 years there, and that's insane. Also, America kind of stayed out of it for a while. I think we got involved at Pearl Harbor,
Right.
1941. I might be mistaken on that. I believe it was December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor happened, and so that's what really got America involved. Even though the European countries are already at war with each other.
Right.
So then we had both sides. We were fighting over the Pacific into Japan, and we're fighting over the Atlantic into Europe with Germany. And we had some allies, of course, thank God, in Europe.
Right. When you're fighting to the right and fighting to the left, you're in a world war.
Right.
You're definitely in a world war.
And we've talked about it before. On one of our shows, I think it was the Philpott Dam show, where the factories had shut down and were making parts for the military.
That's right.
I mean, it was no more car parts. All the metal went to
Right.
tanks, ammo, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
you imagine living in a time like that?
The government would come in and contract all these
Right.
factories, and
Yeah.
they'd start making some war stuff.
And I've had friends,
Shells, bullets.
I worked at an assisted living facility, and thankfully, and I had these 90-year-old friends, and they went to this one lady. She lived in Pennsylvania.
What
and
an honor to
what an
have
honor to
work
talk
with
to these people.
90
Right.
years old.
And it kind of shows you how close it is to you.
Right.
People forget it over time.
Well, I just said it was 200 years. It was 1875. 200 years. 1975 is when I
Three
was
generations.
born. And it's amazing.
Yeah, definitely amazing. But she was at Pennsylvania, and she was into music, played the violin, loved it, and next thing you know, she's working in a factory in Detroit. Her and a girlfriend of hers went up to Detroit, and they was working in an automobile factory, which became the military factory. So they were making military parts for tanks and Jeeps, stuff like that. Pretty interesting, pretty wild. This the resilience of the people back then. Growing your own garden, that hardly don't happen anymore. I remember driving just 10 years ago in Patrick County. I was going down this road. It's actually Martin Farm Road. And I seen this elderly couple. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. I was going to work. And they were picking up hay and throwing it in the back. They were like in their late 70s, 80 years old. And they were picking up hay and throwing it in the back of this that he had baled. And I was like, who does, there's this 80-year-old couple out here throwing hay. This is something they've done their whole lives.
Right.
And here we are, and it's like Walmart's out of milk or Walmart's out of
Toilet paper.
toilet paper. Yeah, there you
The
go.
great loss of toilet paper.
Oh, my Lord. Let's
2021.
Shut the whole country down because we're out of toilet paper. Lord, in the morning. So
But
anyway,
we're losing all that as well. We are losing.
we are
all,
losing. We are losing
the
that.
knowledge of growing gardens, the knowledge of harvesting your own meat,
Canning.
canning. Who's going to do that? We can hardly get people to cook anymore. Never mind canning.
Right. They don't even want to work
so-
at McDonald's, much less
Right.
can some food for their families.
McDonald's. That's another thing. That minimum wage is supposed to be a minimum wage job. I don't know why
It's not a
I'm bringing
career.
this. It's not a career.
No.
It's a. Hey, I got a job. It helps me pay for my Nintendo. Do they even have Nintendo anymore? What is that?
I think
Xbox.
so. Xbox, PlayStation
or
something
something.
online. I don't know.
But you're not supposed to have a career. Minimum wage is. That's all a joke. But I don't know why I got onto that. I don't know. So what else?
Well,
we got?
we're talking about America. Today is
There ain't
about
nothing
America.
more than America than McDonald's.
Ain't nothing more American than somebody
What do we got?
working at McDonald's demanding $15 an hour.
Right.
America, baby.
And now my burger. Have you bought fast food lately?
It's been a while.
Well,
I went to Wendy's.
Yeah.
My grandson wanted to go to Wendy's for his birthday.
we went to McDonald's, me and Katie and all 5 kids.
Yeah.
$74
$74
at McDonald's.
At McDonald's.
I was gonna split a steak or a lobster, something. $74 for McDonald's. That's nuts. There's your $15 an hour, buddy.
It's the American way. Yeah. We
So then we went to Korea, didn't we?
World War II. Can't skip that.
We already got World War II.
I thought we had World War One.
We put World War
Did we
II
do
up
World
there.
War Two?
See? Look
I
at that.
apologize. I thought we
Korea.
had World War One on there. So now we're in the Korean War. This is from what I have talked to several older friends that I had, and most of them have passed away. But this is one of the wars that a lot of people forget, and I didn't want to forget this one. I probably forgot. There's some in there that we're not showing. I know that we've been in more wars than what I'm showing, but this is one I didn't want to forget right here because I knew a couple people actually that were in the Korean War, and I didn't want to forget it because they told me that a lot of people forget about the Korean War from 1950 to 53.
Right.
And a lot of them were stationed in Japan, and I had one of them that actually had a Japanese woman that he was with.
Yeah.
And he would what he done. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know. Well, I mean I know his name, but I don't know if he wants me to put his name. Well, he's passed away now, but I don't want to say anything. He run a bulldozer, and they would go in there first and flatten the land out to make an airport, so they could land the airplanes. I thought that was pretty neat. I was man, he is like that's front line right there. Front line.
Is she coming to tell us sometime?
I think so.
Well,
give me the finger.
It's amazing, everyone thinks you go to war, you grab a gun, and you go in there and you start shooting people.
Right.
And that's just not the case. You talk about a bulldozer going in there first.
Yeah.
Then there's truck drivers, delivering jet fuel. Right?
Yeah, there's the story right there. You know a little bit about that.
There's just a lot of things out there that people don't realize that go into the war. It's a whole society. People are out there. Police. There's the Army police.
MPs. Yeah.
MPs. There's, your son was getting into that. That was something that he really
wanted to do.
Still
wants to do.
Right.
Thank you, Joe Biden.
It might come around again.
Yeah, I think it will.
It will.
2024?
We shouldn't be forcing vaccines on anybody.
No, at all.
But anyways, we got a 2-minute warning, so we're going to go take a break.
We're going to take a break, and then we're coming back. You still have to go on an adventure with us. We took off on our bikes, like we mentioned earlier, and went to the Veterans Memorial in Danville. You'll see where we're going. We'd like to show that to you. A lot of names there, a lot of good stuff, and just being thankful. I think this is the show of thankfulness.
That is what we have to do. We have to be thankful and really understand what these people did for us.
And that's one of the things I wanted to say about my brother here that binds us as friends, that I've had him in my life for over a decade. And, a lot of stuff binds you as friends, motorcycles, I guess, that come later, actually.
Yeah.
We had Lock Boys in common. We had Boys Holland in common. We had dogs in common, cats, whatever. Mainly dogs, and then just the American spirit. And I've always loved this fella right here for his American spirit. I mean, we got American flags on our bikes. We just all about some patriotism. So it's good to have a man like that in your life, and he's teaching his kids that too. This is one thing we have to pass along because we don't want it to be forgotten.
It's not nationalism. It's not this racism.
No.
Where I was taught, America is a bunch of immigrants.
That's it.
Different
So
colors, different
right
shades,
off.
different everything.
Right.
So how can wave an American flag be racist?
I don't know. It just brings us all together is what I think.
And I'll talk to anybody that says different.
September 11th brought us all together. That's just one point. Anyway, we'll be right back. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate it. Thank you. And we're back. Thank you for joining us here on the Be Real, the podcast, and the Be Real. Be Real.
The Be Real.
The Be Real.
There is no the.
There's no the.
It's just Be Real.
Be
the.
Real.
There is a the.
And we are definitely.
But it's after Be Real.
Right.
Be Real,
Be Real.
the podcast.
The podcast. And we're really being real with you today because this is the first time that we've enjoyed an American 1844.
1844.
1844.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, we looked that up. That was before Coors, right?
Yeah.
What was Coors?
Coors was 1884.
Yeah.
Because it kind of got me confused. I was like, wait a minute, is it 1840, 48, somewhere in
Paps. Coors.
Paps.
I like them all.
there? Yeah, it's whatever.
Anyways.
Coors and Paps. No
So
Bud Light. I got an Adam's apple.
I used to have one, but I got some fat to hide.
Yeah, I got some fat apple now. I got one of them juicy Granny
Oh,
Smiths.
look at you can find it.
There, look at that apple.
Anyways,
They say if
I'm
you
blue. Did you, Shania? Can you put that on my camera? Look how blue I am. Hey,
he's blue.
I'm blue.
They say if you have an apple, you have a banana.
That is true.
So you look for somebody, if they got an apple, they got a banana.
The fruits of wisdom.
Here's to the banana.
Here's the fruits of wisdom. If there's an apple, there's a banana.
If there's an apple, there's a banana. I'm not
That's
pointing
enough
at
of
the
that.
banana.
So what do we got? We're going to talk about our trip to Danville.
Let's
Right
get through the
off the bat.
wars. We got the Korean, and
Oh, we
definitely
got-
want to
okay.
talk about Vietnam, if she would bring that up, because that's really the
And
closest.
there it is.
Yeah, this is within our generation, especially yours.
1975.
Yeah, especially
That's
yours.
the year I was born.
Right, and this has affected our parents. This has affected anyone that's lived within that time period, and so
People
I'd
in
say
our
that's the majority
community.
of us.
People in our community. I remember when I was a kid, there was a gentleman down the road that had fought in Vietnam, and he did not come back sane.
Right.
He had lost it, and I can remember being scared as heck as a kid. But then later in life, remembering him, and just, I couldn't believe what he saw, what he went through. You know, it was devastating. I guess. It's
And
all-
we've asked some people to be on here, and they were like, "No, I just don't want to bring that up." And I totally agree with that. So thank you.
and understand it, right?
And I understand that, because that is that's something, you know, our country was majorly divided, especially in the late '60s. The protesting of the war, and then there's a draft going on. You got to go, and then you got some draft dodgers that go to college or move off to Canada and try to avoid the draft, and then you got these boys that just go.
Right.
That just, you know, my number's up.
Well, you got ones that signed up, not even waited for the
Right.
draft.
Right.
Signed up for
Right.
it. They heard this was going down, and they signed.
And you
There's-
got to remember, their dads and their grandpas fought in the wars we were just speaking about, the Civil War.
Now think
and
about
the
this. Think
World
about
War
this.
II.
There were gentlemen that signed up for it that didn't pass the physical,
Yeah.
and they had to go home. And at times they felt like less of a man.
Right.
You know,
Which you're not.
Which you're not at all.
No.
But they
You're willing to give your
willing
life.
to give up. There was quite a few that had signed up, and for some reason they did not pass the physical aspect of the deal,
Mm-hmm.
and they got sent home. And I'm sure that was
Weighing on 'em.
embarrassing and weighing on them. Of they felt less of a man, but they weren't.
And once again, we dodged this because we were born later on. You was born in '75. There's no way you could have went to Vietnam.
Right.
I was born in '78, and so there we have this. I think to remain thankful, grateful, blessed. That's one thing.
And educate yourself.
Educated. Understand why we are here on this ground, speaking English, and having the freedoms that we have.
Right.
Not just drinking a beer on a podcast, even though that's great. But just we can go state to state. We don't show me your papers. There's no papers. There's no camps. There's no. There's freedom of speech, freedom of press. Unfortunately, America has the media virus, but there is some good press out there. I don't know which ones they are. You just kind of got to take what you got.
And you never know. You got to
You'll
come up
never
with
know.
it yourself.
Yeah, you got to really just listen to all the junk, filter out the trash. We have these things at our home that my wife has purchased that we put in the sinks, and the double sink. And when you pour your junk in there, the water goes through, or the liquid goes through, but the solids stay in the filter.
The trash stays in
The
the filter.
trash stays in the filter, and then you empty the filter out. That is what we have to do. Unfortunately, you know, back in the day, there was Dan Rather. Well, let's start out. Walter Cronkite.
Right.
I think very believable person. Very hardcore. When you're watching the news, information is there. Not really an opinion. I'm sure he had his opinions, but not really giving an opinion except for a few things, especially when Kennedy got shot. That was his opinion.
Personal opinion,
Which resonated with a lot of people.
Right.
And then you had Dan Rather, you had these other guys, but now you just have it's all about the money. advertising.
You ever see that? You ever see that? I think it's on Facebook
click,
or one of
click,
those skits where they show a news anchor, and he's saying one thing, and then the news anchor pops up and saying the same thing, and then another one pops up and he's saying the same, and it goes on and on,
right?
To where they're just saying they're puppets.
Yep, there's like a Star Media or something. There's a conglomerate that owns most of the media facilities that we know of that are local to us, and they just repeat the same, whatever they're given. Right. That's what they regurgitate. Right. And so we don't need to get hyped up about that. When we do, we get on social media because we have these little things right here, or a little desktop or a little computer at your home, and you're putting in your opinion, which is great. But, you know, you're letting it, and the reason I can speak on it because I've had this.
Right. Well, it's easier to just read a meme than to actually look up something and educate yourself read an article about something. It's easier just to, jump on the bandwagon of whatever the funniest meme is out there. Right. But I really think people need to educate themselves and look. I heard some things about, well, I never learned that in school. Well, I don't think a school is supposed to teach us everything. Right. A school is supposed to teach us how to learn, teach us how to educate ourselves. Mm-hmm. So don't put all that responsibility. Well, I've never learned that in school. Well, they taught you how to look up stuff. Right. We have doctors at Boyce Holland, and they don't know all the dosages. They don't know all the drugs. They know where to look it up. Mm-hmm. They know where to find that information.
And not ashamed to say that.
And I think that's what we need to do. It's not just look at that quick little meme or that quick little funny thing that goes past. Educate yourself. Read a book. Read it.
Read it. Know it. Just don't keep believing what they're feeding. Right. I'm not a fan of the feeding stuff.
We better get on to this video.
I think it might be the last generation that me and you are living in, as far as us, that just don't. I know there's a lot of good and solid people out there in our generation that are teaching their kids the right thing, and hopefully the kids are believing it. But then there's some that's just lost in this TikTok world, YouTube world.
Well, it's easier to raise a kid if you sit them in front of a laptop or in front of a phone there and just...
Same as some of them in the 60s and 70s that just sat them in front of the TV. The TV was the babysitter. Right. Now we have a mobile babysitter. Right. This is so full of junk. You thought TV was bad. Good Lord, get on these things.
We should probably get on this video or we're not going to make it.
Yes, let's get on the video.
We got a video of us going to Danville.
I want to thank Shania.
Putting up with our junk.
Look at that. Here we go. I think this is the first time we've ever showed ourselves on the motorcycles.
There he is.
Here he is. There, unfortunately, there I am.
The GoPro 360. Love it. Going down the highway.
Yeah, right here is 58, going toward Danville. Just a beautiful day. We set out. It's like, let's go to Danville. Let's do this. We got to see this Veterans Memorial. And you can go to Greensboro here, or you can go straight on to Danville. I believe we have some sound in this, too, but... that's okay.
What sound like music or sound like what is it?
It's motorcycles.
Oh, it's like
which you don't have to play. We got sound. But once we get to the Veterans Memorial, there's my brother Chad.
There he goes.
Yeah. Once we get to the
so we live in the best area to ride motorcycles.
We do.
We're
so blessed.
The greatest roads. We got windy roads.
Another freedom we enjoy because of those that sacrificed.
Look at.
What was that? What was that, Chad?
It is a peace sign.
That's like Shania going down the road. You got 1 minute.
We got 1 minute, guys.
You got 1 minute left there,
1 minute to Danville. That's what that said. 1 minute to Danville. But I can't. Man, that's freedom right there. Look at the open road.
It is.
It's just
no mirrors, no windshield, no hood, no nothing.
Right.
I mean, this is straight. A lot of people are scared of that, and that's okay. I mean, But I would say you get somebody you trust, and you get on a motorcycle, and it will change your life.
So right here, we're gonna take a right.
Yep. Like I've heard before, and I know you've heard this before too. When you're in a vehicle, you're watching a movie. But when you're on a motorcycle, you're the star of the movie.
You are so. Now we're going down the road. We smell some barbecue. There's someone cooking some barbecue. This truck right here, or the truck above it, they were smoking marijuana. Or
Yeah, we
something
smelled.
going on.
I smelled several. I smelled several. I don't know how I know the smell of that, but I was there.
Yeah, they were enjoying.
Yeah, they were enjoying
little
some
ride, I
marijuana
guess.
there. Whoever that was, and there were some other people that did. But then we had where they were mowing the grass, and I was sneezing the rest of the afternoon. I was sneezing. It's never affected me like it has now.
But the smells when you're on a bike,
Oh man!
I don't know if it's just the wind blowing it right up your nose.
Right, you
I don't
smell
know what the case
dead.
is.
I mean, you know, it sounds bad, but you smell these carcasses that are on the side of the road. You know, there's a couple times you smell death.
The fast food joints,
The fast food, the
fresh cut lawn.
fresh cut lawn, people cooking out. You can smell the steaks and hamburgers like half a mile
I'll
before
tell
you get
what,
there.
That bike that's a sexy bike right there.
That is.
I'm
Look at the
sorry.
rear end on that
Right.
bike.
She's wide. She's wide.
I love this bridge. This is the bypass. Got a little side
Oh,
angle
look
there.
at you're doing a little camera action.
Little camera
that
action.
looks nice,
going
Daniel.
on. Yeah,
Good
it's
for
cool.
you.
Yeah, look at the boot.
I like it.
Something different.
But look at your fork out there. That looks nice. Your wheel just going.
Yeah. People don't see the road that
That's
close.
a wide glide. She got a big fork on her.
She got a wide glide on her. Look at her. Holding it up in the air. It's probably not legal.
Wait, hold on. Either is canoeing going down the highway.
I don't think canoeing down the highway is legal either, but I don't know. I'm not a cop.
I don't think I
I
can
have
get a
not
ticket
studied
for
the law.
that. Is that
Yeah, let's see,
ticketable?
look. Ding, 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 ding.
Is that ticketable?
Is that
Can
ticketable?
I get a ticket
I don't
for
know.
that being
I don't
on?
know who that was. I don't know if that was
Yeah,
you or
that
not. I
wasn't
think
me.
it was just somebody passing me at the time.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
riding-
getting all kinds of shots.
Riding a canoe down the highway. Whatever.
And so this is the bypass. This is what you got to do. You go down 58 toward Danville, then you get on the bypass. It goes around Danville, actually.
I don't think people know that this type of stuff exists. They live in the city and they just don't know that there's open roads out there. There's open living.
Open living.
They just
Loving it.
just if you're in a situation where you're living in the city and you're sick of the filth, you're sick of the amount of people, there's room out here in the world.
Right.
Plenty of room.
And thankfully, people have made parks and stuff.
Oh man,
Was that a stop sign?
that Phil. Don't pay attention to that.
There was a.
Philpott Lake. Let me tell you about that.
Oh boy.
Philpott Lake has no houses on it. You
That's
could
nice.
drive that whole place, and
Never
it's
see
just
a
full of
house.
trees.
Beautiful.
It's amazing. I
So
love
we're
it.
almost there. I think we have. Do we have audio? Will we have audio of that?
Or do we have to shut this off?
Or do we have to talk? Or okay, cool.
Oh, you can.
So you'll hear us
So we
talk.
just can't.
So we'll shut
Oh.
up here in a minute because we actually did a little show right here at the Veterans Memorial. This is in Pennsylvania County. Getting ready to roll up to it. You'll hear all about it.
So she could hear us. She could hear the
she
bike.
can hear us.
I can't
yeah,
hear
so they
nothing.
can. I can't either. So they'll hear us. So I need to shush.
At what point do we shush?
I
Right now?
think no after the
Welcome
after
here.
the groundhog.
Oh, little
This-
groundhog was
Yeah,
checking
welcome to
things out.
Danville, Pennsylvania County Veterans Memorial.
A quiet
look
place.
At, look at that guy. He was
Hey, little
chilling.
fella. Man, he had so much to eat.
He's
He looked
chowing.
like me. He was just.
He was going to get on the
just
bike.
like eating.
I can't believe the bikes didn't scare him away.
No, he was eating, man. He ain't worried about a bike.
No,
Look at.
he's chowing down.
Freedom is not free.
Yes. Okay, here we go.
This is beautiful.
Yes, we gotta.
Are we already talking?
We're getting ready to.
All right, hush.
No. God is looking for someone real.
Amen.
People are looking for something real. Just be real. And here we are, the be realest of all people. As far as Americans go, freedom is not free. We are at the War Memorial, the Veterans and Memorial for those that have given their lives right here in Danville, Virginia. Beautiful place. As you can see, World War II, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, defending freedom, the war on terrorism.
Now, we started back here at 1812.
Right.
1812.
Let me go back. Let me go back.
Getting on there.
I'm so infatuated with that freedom is free. Freedom is not free.
It is not free. Ask these people if it's free.
Right.
The
The
problem I'm
families.
having right now is I feel like I'm stepping on names here.
Right.
Look at this. It's beautiful. But I just don't know if I should be walking on it.
Right. We ain't got no right to. American Revolutionary War. War of 1812. Civil War.
That's back when Pabst Blue Ribbon was.
There you go.
Right.
1844.
Look at this, though.
Civil War is just so many people right here in Pennsylvania County, Danville area.
I mean, that's almost taking up half.
Yeah.
The display here is Civil War.
Millions of lives given away. Given. Millions of lives given.
And we look at these names and, you know, but that's somebody's brother. That's, you know, that's somebody's cousin, somebody's father.
Son.
Right.
Freedom
Right, your
is
son.
not free.
Freedom is not free.
I wish you could take them to the up there at Washington D.C. You know, where they have the memorial for Vietnam. It's double the size of this with all the names. This is just one county, one Pennsylvania county, one Danville area. All these names. World
Now
War
these
II.
are names that have deceased during battle,
Yep.
correct?
Yeah, died in action, died non-battle. Most of them's killed in action. Korean War killed in action. Vietnam
Now
War
we look
killed
at
in
here,
action.
we look at Vietnam War, 64 to 73. There's 40 names. Korean War, there's 30 names. World War II, 300, 400 names.
Right.
But Civil War.
Let's go look
And
at
they're
it.
trying to delete it. They're
Right.
trying to delete that it ever happened, that they were somehow against America at the time. And that's just, I think, based on perspective. You're looking back at somebody who made a judgment call on their land, their home. They weren't against America. Civil War wasn't, the South wasn't against America. This is
It was
World War
America
II.
against America.
Right.
World War II, look at that. 407,000. 670,000 wounded. God. We was just talking about that today, or numbers. This is not numbers, this is human lives. World War I, 116,000 dead, 204,000 wounded. Phew. Spanish-American War of 1898, 2,446. It's like World Trade Center, 9/11. It's only 3,000 people. Look at there, the American Civil War, 359,000 Union casualties, just Union. 318,000 wounded. Confederate, 153,000, 187,000 wounded. Total casualties, 1,018,136. God. Civil War. 1 million people. Mexican War. 13,000. Just back over here again where you said Civil War is just name after name after name after name after name. Wall after wall after wall. And that's just here. That's just right here, Pennsylvania County.
Amazing.
That placard over there in the ground just tells the 1 million of everybody. Their War of 1812. There's where we got our freedom, the American Revolutionary War. All of it's our freedom. All of it's kept our freedom. That's right there is what started it all, 1775 to 1783, 25,000.
You know, that was 200 years before I was born.
Yeah.
That 200 sounds like a long time. But now as we're getting older, 200 doesn't seem long at all, does it?
No. It's like what, 4 generations? 3? Generations like 70 years. It's like 3 generations. And this is where we're at, the Danville, Pennsylvania County Veterans Memorial. Like you said, I shouldn't even be walking on these names.
Right.
And then we got the P's, the O's, N.
You know, you look at these things and you read them and they say sergeant or corporal.
Bunch of sergeants, bunch of corporals, privates.
Private, you know, but that's somebody, like I keep on saying, that's somebody's family member. That's somebody's uncle. Freedom is not free.
And not only did they sacrifice, but the family sacrificed. I would say that's probably, you know, you think giving your life is really bad, which it is, to giving your life for something you believe in, signing up and going.
But the
then
people you leave
leave
behind.
behind. Right, right. And that goes down through generations. I never knew my dad. I never knew my grandpa. I never knew my great-grandpa. I never knew my uncle. I never knew my brother. He signed up and went to World War II. I was, 12, 11, whatever. I mean, whatever the circumstances may be. Our veterans a salute. 1771 to present.
September 11th.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of glorifying his name and having his name in here.
Right.
I think that it just could have been left out myself. But you know, I'm always bitching. I'm always complaining.
I totally agree.
You know, but I don't believe his name should be laying in this memorial.
Not with everybody else. Scratch it out and put idiot right there.
Right.
And we're back. And what a, don't know what to say, man. When we were there, like you said, I just didn't feel right walking on those names. I mean, that's made for us to do that, but just a really solemn place, a place of reverence, just a kind of just, I encourage anybody that is a patriot to go out there and see that. That right there, that's a different picture. That's that is the traveling Vietnam Wall. What they do, they go around the country. If you can't go to Washington, D.C. and see the Vietnam Memorial, which is in D.C., the original one, this thing is massive, and it copies it, but it's only like, I believe it's a quarter or maybe a half the size of the actual Vietnam War Memorial. Which is near the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. I got to see that when I was young. Didn't really, I mean, I appreciated it and stuff like that, but I didn't
understand
the magnitude, right,
of those
perfect
names.
Words.
That's,
right. That right there was in Franklin County. They showed up at the over near Snow Creek, I think is Franklin County Recreational Park, somewhere over there. Up 220, right off of 220, and I just had heard about it. I rode my bike up there, took some pictures. Beautiful. So anytime you get a chance to see that, again, they go across the country and just set this wall up. It's all Vietnam War veterans, people that have given their lives in Vietnam.
The thing that got to me while we were there the other day is that was one county.
Yeah.
There was names after names after names.
What they just saw was one
county.
Pennsylvania county in Virginia. This is not national. This is of course, they had the list of the casualties and the wounded and stuff like that on the markers, but that wall is just for Pennsylvania County.
It's just
an unbelievable amount of people.
Humbling.
Right. And that's where we're going to leave it, I guess. This is Memorial Day weekend. We hope that you'll take the time to remember those that gave all so we could have all. So we can have our freedom of speech, our English language,
and
the land we live on, the breath we breathe.
If you don't feel that way, because you might not.
Yeah.
If you don't feel that way, do yourself a favor and educate yourself.
Yeah. Definitely.
So we're getting the 2-finger.
That's it.
God bless y'all.
God bless you.
Be
God bless
real.
the United States.
Y'all be real and come on back.
Be real.